had a midwife, but some things were funky with my midwife, and there wasn't clear communication, and there was no, I wouldn't say that there was the comfort levels were, there was no like safety felt between either of us. And so I think that's also another important thing that I really advocate for is like, work with someone who you know you're going to be comfortable seeing you cry, seeing you naked, seeing you throw up, seeing you be at your lowest of low and highest of high, because we do bear witness to a lot of these very personal, intimate moments, and you have to kind of be open to that. And so, yeah, when my son's birth took me on a very, very beautiful healing path, and it led me here to Oakland. It took one really great radical midwife, Samaya Franklin, out here to say, what happened to you was wrong, and you should feel okay knowing that that was wrong. Not feel okay, but know that it was wrong, and know that you can do better through educating yourself. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's been a process, so it's gotten me this far, and I'm just kind of like riding it, and it's been great.
Perfect, thank you.
My name is Jessalyn Valerano. Thank you, Daisy. Excuse me, I'm from upstate New York originally, and I've been out here for 4 years studying birth as a student of midwifery, and then as a doula for the whole time I've been here, I guess. I have attended, I think I'm coming up on 8 or 9 births. The majority of those have been as a volunteer here in Oakland and Martinez, where they have a volunteer doula program. And that is like frontline doula work where you've never met the client ever, and you walk into the labor room with their permission and say, I'm a doula, would you like some assistance? This is what a doula does. And most of the time they're immigrant populations. So limited English, sometimes they speak English, and they probably don't know what a doula is, but they're happy for the help. So I did that a little bit last year, and I wasn't really feeling like I was learning as much as I needed to be. And when I asked for a mentor, Samsarah happened to need some help, and I happened to need her, so that's been a really great gift. I got into being a doula. Initially, I started out being a student of midwifery because I was an anthropology student in college, and I wrote my honors thesis on hospital childbirth practices. And I knew I was gonna get mad. I just didn't know how mad I was gonna get. And I actually put off reading about midwifery until after I'd written, because midwifery and holistic healthcare was my background and my context, and I didn't want it to completely define how I went into the hospital learning. So I focused on learning about the history of obstetrics and the history of medical care in the US, and how we got to this place of this 30% and higher cesarean section rate, and these really low rates for wellness, considering how advanced our country is. So I was studying that, as an anthropologist, and I witnessed and actually assisted in a C-section as an anthropology student, which probably is not even an ethical practice, but I wrote about that in my paper. Like, the hospital just kind of let me in. So that was a really strange and alienating experience. And I finished that paper feeling really angry and hurting for people, and really just astonished at the lack of transparency about obstetrics and the history of how we've gotten to the way we practice childbirth medicine. And so I decided the best thing I could do was do something with my hands and become a care provider. So I started to study midwifery, and as I was studying midwifery, the first thing I learned, was you have to be patient with the process of labor and childbirth and parenting, and that translated to also being more patient with my learning process. And so I decided to become a doula to kind of ease into it, and it's actually been incredibly fulfilling, and I've put my schooling on hold because being a doula is a full-time commitment. And right now, studying midwifery is something that I'm going to put to the future, and right now I'm focusing on being the best doula I can, and really trying to integrate the other skills I have around creativity and emotional freedom technique and writing and advocacy, and trying to bring all of those things into a practice that is a service and empowering and uplifting this beautiful community that I'm so happy to be in. So that's where I'm at.
Thank
Thank you both. That's a lot. Those are very both powerful statements. My name is Davina Estrella, and I got into midwifery because I've always been a caretaker. I'm a mother of 5 children, and I've also assisted. I got into it by assisting home births because I had a lot of experience with birth, my own births, and I began assisting my friends with their births. And going through the process of birthing myself in all these different ways, I've birthed in the hospital, I've birthed alone, and I've had a C-section, so I guess so far I haven't done the twins. But through those experiences, I found that the hospital was a very restricting place to be, and that their practices were a lot of the time unethical and not very fair, simply, to the family. You know, mothers and fathers were separated, children and mothers were separated. You know, people were being coerced strongly into doing things that they weren't comfortable with, and so I just personally became after policing, I guess, my own birth, I came into the point where I wanted to assist other women not going through that same experience, you know. And so me telling my story inspired other friends of mine to want to birth at home, and so they did. And then I also, like I said, supported those births, and they came out really well. There was no midwife; there were just unassisted home births. And so after that, I began working with other doulas as a backup doula, and I participated in some other births. And I started thinking that maybe midwifery was best for me because the things that happen in a hospital setting, a doula can support a family with, but they are not, you know, they really need to empower women to deal with this, you know. And so I was thinking that midwifery was best for me, but just like you were saying, the doula really gives it a slow churn, you know, like a soup that's really good. You know, you're getting in there and you're finding out all these different techniques and ways to support a mom before you get to the clinical aspect, which is actually, I think, even the most important part of it, is really the slowing down and really getting to know people. You know what I mean? And all of those experiences, every woman and every birth is different. You know what I mean? So I think that this is beautiful work. You know what I mean? I feel like it's meant for me to do. The creativity that I can bring into it, all the talents, all the herb making, all the little gift giving and bow wrapping, and all the, you know, all the little things that you think up to help moms and babies. I mean, all of those things get incorporated into this practice at some point or another, and I think that's what's the most enriching part of it, is just being with families and around that process like a portal, like you're a portal of life and death, and both are actually really real. And so another reason why I wanted to be a doula is because there are so many different things you go through. I've also experienced loss, you know, miscarriage and abortion, and I wanted to be able to support moms through those things. My mother was adopted, and I understand how serious that can be on a family, and how hard that transition can be, and decisions to make can be. So bereavement, adoption, having a baby, postpartum, taking care of a baby, all of those things I've experienced hands-on to one degree or another. And I know how important it is to have support in those areas, so I wanted to be a support in that.
Perfect. Thank you. So someone gets to film me.
So my name is Samsarah Morgan. I told you guys that earlier. I have been a doula. This is my it's getting ready to be my 37th year in the fall. It'll be 37 years being a doula. So, and I've got, 23 more babies to do before I get to my 1000th baby. So I've been doing this for a little while. I'm a mother of 5 myself. I gave birth to 3, got a set of twins we talked about earlier. And I'm an adopted son and a stepson. So my mothering resume is pretty cool. Got an adopted son, stepson, a mom-in-law, I'm a grandma. So I think I have fulfilling all of those roles, and I've loved it, and I've learned so much of each one. I love my babies. I'm very, very pleased and proud that somehow at 19 years of age, I, told a lot of doctors to go stuff themselves, and I had my twins naturally. My first babies, actually, I had planned to have them in the birthing center. I'm from New York originally, and I was going to go to the maternity center in Manhattan to have my babies, but they didn't deliver twins. So a big disappointment, but also a lot of support from my midwives and my childbirth education class, and they were like, they told me what hospital to go to, and they were like my first doulas. Because they were like, okay, we're sad we can't be with you, but be happy, because at first I was all crushed, like, be happy, and this is what we will do, and remember what we taught you, and it's gonna be okay, and it was. That beautiful, blissful birth with my big fat baby boys. They were 10 days late. They were 7 pounds 3 and 6 pounds 10. So I'm really on the mission. When I get close to a twin expectant mother, I'm kind of like, don't settle for 3-pound babies. Don't fall for the okie doke on that. It's really not necessary. Because you want to have baby for all mamas. You want to have a nice healthy baby because nice healthy baby's more fun, right? You can bond and play, and you don't be running to the hospital and doing all that silliness when you don't have to. So I have always been, for some reason, the angels have said I'm the woman that tells women the good gospel about birth. So I had my babies on the young side of things for this culture. That I was off doing corporate work. I was the one who everyone came to when they were having a baby. So I was a doula long before I knew what a doula even was. And then someone let me know I could get paid to do it, and I was like, boy, howdy. Because I was the one working in corporate environments and surrounded by men who all had beloved females in their lives who were having babies, and I was advising them, and they were having their girlfriends call me, and the girlfriends were liking me, and they would invite me to come with them to the hospital to have their babies, and that's how it started for the first few years. And that's just what I would do. I was just the one. People just knew. Call Samsarah. She'll come with you. She'll tell you what to do. She'll teach you everything. And I was helping all these beautiful bankers and stockbrokers have beautiful children. It was great. And the more I've done this work, the more I have been increasingly aware of the crisis in the African American community around birth, and being upset and angry about that, because if we could survive slavery, having babies under incredibly painful and adverse conditions, why are Black women struggling so much now when we have all our big shiny hospitals and all the fancy medicine? And a good reason for that, one of the reasons for that, is that we've lost the individual care of midwifery. Women specifically need the energy of other women who are not looking at what's going on in their bodies as some kind of crisis waiting to unfold. People actually walk up to twin moms. People walked up to me when I was out with my twin babies and said, "Oh, poor you." Seriously? Get away from me. I have 2 beautiful babies. What's poor you? Right? And people will go out of their way to come over and tell you the most fearful thing. Because we're such a traumatized culture, nobody has worked out their own grief, so they're passing the hot potato of their grief around to others. So it's always been my pleasure and my honor to be the person to say that pregnancy can be a breeze. Pregnancy can be a joy. And there are things that you can do to help that process be that way. You're just brimming full of life. I loved having 2 babies inside of me. I missed them when they were out. And I felt lonely. I was like, this is weird, I feel lonely. And there are my babies right there. But we were so full and churning with beauty together. All of our chi was mixing together, and it just felt fabulous. So, being pregnant can be a pleasure and a joy. It is a rite of passage. We are being prepared for something great. Motherhood is greatness, which we don't hear about in this culture a lot. What we do can affect generations that we will never put our eyes on. And that is incredible work. I consider it sacred work. And so doulas, in my opinion, we spread that good news. And we support women and families and birthing people on all their different journeys around reproduction. You know, a stillbirth is a powerful rite of passage. The decision to not have a child and to go through that thought process and to go through that consciously is a rite of passage. And we want to not go through any of those things alone in isolation, or feeling ashamed, or feeling unnecessary guilt. Traditionally, women have always taken care of each other during these sacred times. And so we want to encourage with this practice going back to that primary good thinking. It's not a pill that's going to make us better, you know, so much as it is having a community and having someone to hold your hand when you're down. When you're having a baby, there are periods where you just, you know, transitions, like, I can't do this. I don't think I can do this. I've had my clients say, you know, I'm going home, Samsarah. One of my favorite clients popped off the hospital and said, no, I'm going home. I don't want to have a baby. And it's like, okay, let me walk with you down the hallway and hold your hand while you walk out the fact that something really amazing is happening inside of you, and you're coming to this porthole, this doorway where you know when you walk through it, everything's going to be different. You're going to be a mom. And that should give us pause. It should be awesome. Like, and there should be people there that hold your hand and say, you can do it. You can walk through there. I got you by the hand, and you know, I'll walk beside you just so far I can go, because I can't have the baby, but I got you to the doorway, and I'm going to greet you on the other side. And that's our job. That's my honor and pleasure to do. That's what I'm honor and pleasure to teach you guys if you're coming for education, and to give to you guys who are coming for care. So I'm working with this beautiful passel of amazing younger doulas, and there are actually 3 or 4 more who couldn't be with us today. I think that's what I wanted to share, and what I wanted to have taped this morning. Bye-bye, people in tape land, and then we can talk more personally about what that looks like for everybody. But that's what we're here to offer.